Hello and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Whistle. Today we are back at Cheltenham Civil Service. For those of you that have seen the vlog 2 weeks ago, you'll know that we didn't have our best performance, but we've got an opportunity to rectify it because we're back there this week. Civil Service are playing at home to Mushet and Colway United, and as you can see by the league table, Mushet and Colway are much higher, looking to push into the promotion spots. There are definitely some benefits to refereeing teams you've recently been to. Although you may feel a little bit apprehensive about going back somewhere where you didn't have a great game, it's a great opportunity to right the wrongs and get it out of your mind. And there are things that you're now prepared for that you weren't prepared for before, such as the pitch, the players, the style of play, the attitude, the management.
His VO can pick it up. That's 11 minutes since the save-in. So when he reviews it on his little group, I expect my apology on that one as well.
All of those sorts of things are now not new to you with that team, and so you can go in there with a lot more information and give a better performance. So that's my goal today, to use this as an opportunity to set that game 2 weeks ago out of my mind and put in a good performance today. Extra effort, extra intensity, and deliver a good performance. That's my goal. If this is the first time you're watching these videos, I take you in the day of the life of what it's like to be a referee, and then we go through the game afterwards and analyse our decisions, all the key moments, the goals, etc, etc, etc. So we're just off to Sports Direct because last week my notebook split in half and it was a nightmare. So I don't yet have a smartwatch, which a lot of people have been chatting about. Obviously there are different apps you can use. There's Spinso, Ref6, all that sort of stuff. But at the moment I'm old school, using pen and paper. But yes, notebook split in half, so we're off to get one of them. Right, notepad secured. Terrible, really. £4, Sondico, not ideal. But if any of you got any recommendations for a decent notebook out there, please let me know. Obviously I mentioned before we left about kind of the expectations for the game. I'm kind of got mixed feelings still. Obviously Civil Service managed to win 2-0 away at Ledbrook last week, which is a bit of a surprise result given their performance when we refereed them and how they've been playing this year. Going in with an open mind, but as I said, the only focus is just having a better performance than we did last time. So, nice spacious changing room. We will be sharing this with another referee that's doing another game here. Civil Service actually have a real nice setup. They've got the main pitch for their county league team, and then a second pitch for their seconds and their thirds. We've already had a good laugh with the players and the gaffer about the game 2 weeks ago. They were saying they had no idea that I'd made a mistake until after the game. We've had a good laugh about it. They've offered to pay me half today, which I think is fair. Just key thing to think about, right? Is, again, because I think because I wasn't defensive, I wasn't kind of argumentative, things like that. I've come back. We've had a laugh, we're ready for the game, and yeah, we've been able to just crack on with it, and we've left a good impression. So, big tip out there, if you make mistakes, don't stress. Have a laugh, have a chat, and we can all move on.
Hey, Rex, you can't do that! Yeah, you can't. You can't do that, Ray! Look at that bar, I tell you!
Well, where do I start? My word. That was the, I guess, highest level of abuse I've ever received in a football match. We gave 7 cautions on the pitch. We gave a yellow card to the civil service, one of the civil service staff, and then we had to show him a straight red after the game because he called me a he then proceeded to square up to me after the game, after I showed him the red card, said a few more things. It was a weird one because the game itself, I felt like I refereed really well, but the behaviour from the sideline was terrible. yeah, 7 cautions. I'm 90% sure I got all of them correct. We had an issue with the sin bin. I sin binned the lad for descent, and then I waited 13 minutes to bring him on, in which that time they'd conceded 2 or 3 goals. I got a load of abuse because I'd left him off the pitch for 13 minutes, as a sin bin should be 10, but it's 10 minutes of playing time, as far as I understand, not 10 minutes in total, because otherwise you could have an injury that takes 10 minutes and then there's no downside to the person getting sin binned, which wouldn't be right. More importantly, if this does happen to you, like, it's not a reflection on you as a referee. If you receive abuse or somebody's aggressive with you, don't take it personally. You're like a traffic warden, a police officer, a teacher, you know? You're just a person in uniform that the person wants to take their frustration out on. But doesn't mean you should accept it, because otherwise next week's ref will have to deal with it. So put the report in properly, get it dealt with, and then we can stamp this sort of stuff out of football. No surprise that there's not enough referees every weekend with behaviour like that. No surprise at all. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is actually quite a few days after the game. I took some time to kind of sit, reflect, put in the report, etc, etc, etc. But yeah, let's get into it, and then yeah, just chat through kind of how I feel. I want to be super clear that this is not a witch hunt. My goal is to not, I guess, condemn civil service as a club, the team, the players, the management staff, none of that. This was just an interaction that I had with one guy that went south, and it is not a reflection on the club as a whole, okay? You know, most of my interactions with this club have been absolutely fine. It's just this one occasion with this one gentleman. So I just want to make that very clear. On the other hand, there's absolutely no place for behaviour like this in the game. I hope that watching this back, myself, other people, if you see any part of this that you know you've acted in a similar way in the past, I really hope it makes you feel something, because it did with me, right? I was part of it, but I watched it back and thought, you know what, 5-10 years ago, I probably acted like that as well. And it made me feel uncomfortable, and it makes me want to change. So I hope it has the same effect for you. So, you can see that I get the decision wrong. From where I was stood, which is okay, as the civil service player goes into the back of the Mushet and Colway player, it looked to me like it had come off his knee. I signalled very quickly for a Mushet and Colway throw, and the club assistant gave it the other way. I did think I was right, but then he signalled so fast. But then, obviously, the Mushet and Colway player really complains. To me, that kind of supported the fact that I thought I was right. As we can see from the video, I'm not. I do get it wrong, and in hindsight I probably should have just gone with the club assistant because he was so close to it. However, before the game I did ask them just to focus on offsides. In hindsight, yeah, I've got it wrong, which is frustrating. You'll see the reaction from the civil service assistant manager. So we have this chat with him, and as you can see during the chat, I'm trying to be calm. I'm, you know, using my hands, being expressive, explaining why I've done what I've done. Obviously, he has the right to be frustrated because I've got the decision wrong, which is fair enough, I have. However, the way in which he tells me that he thinks I'm wrong is not great. In hindsight, I should not stand there and talk to him for that long. I very simply should have said, I may or may not have got that wrong. Regardless, you cannot be shouting across the pitch like that, and then just left. But instead, I engaged in a conversation, probably for a little bit too long, and that caused the temperature to rise a little bit. So the throw-in comes in, they have the shot, and thankfully nothing comes of it. So then we get this situation here where a tackle goes in. You won't really be able to see it from the camera, but it's a good tackle. He wins the ball, and then the lad that goes down picks the ball up and throws it away. You'll hear the civil service assistant manager shouting again, and then an argument starts between a fan of the other team and the civil service assistant manager. This then causes this 3 minutes later. So that all happens. Obviously, as you can hear, the language isn't great at all. It's a lot clearer on camera than it was on the pitch because they are directly underneath. So I couldn't hear it as clearly as you guys, and I can now hear it on camera. So we pull them both in because they're both causing issues, and we basically say, look, any more behaviour like that, and you will have to go. Like, that language is not acceptable. The difficulty is one of the guys on the side was actually a fan. He wasn't part of the staff. It's just super difficult in grassroots, right? Because everyone just stands together. There's no segregation of who can stand where. The number 7 miscontrols it, loses the ball. He then grabs the Mushet and Colway midfielder and pulls him to the ground, so we give a free kick. At this point, he asked me if I'm blind, and so we give him a sin bin. Poor signal of the sin bin. Arm needs to be way up above the head and then hold the point so everybody knows. Yeah, it was very rushed, very half-hearted. But yes, sin bin for dissent. And then this causes all sorts of problems around the amount of time that he's off. So a sin bin is 10 minutes of playing time. And this is a common misconception in grassroots football, is that a sin bin is only for 10 minutes. And whilst that's true, it's 10 minutes of the ball in play. And you cannot bring somebody on until there's a stoppage in play. So if the 10 minutes are up, but then play carries on for 5 minutes without the ball going out of play, you can't invite the player back on. Less than a minute later, we get a penalty decision. As we can see, it's clear as day, and there is actually no complaints, which is refreshing. So no complaints, clear penalty. Yeah, and it's happened 1 minute after the sin bin. Then 5 minutes after the penalty, Mushet and Colway get another chance. As you can see, it's a soft goal to concede, and that is now obviously the second goal they've conceded in this sin bin time frame. So now we're 11 minutes nearly into the sin bin. However, we've obviously had a penalty, we've had another goal, we've had other stoppage in play, and that has exceeded 1 minute. So it's not time for him to come back on yet, and you'll hear the shouts that come from the sideline.
That lateness, his VO can pick it up. That's 11 minutes since the sin bin. So when he reviews it on his little group, he might realise he made a mistake there.
It's 11 minutes gone.
They're asking for an apology because I've made a mistake. I just would like to reiterate that it is only 10 minutes of the ball in play, not 10 minutes total. They then concede from this corner, so now that is the third goal they've conceded in the time frame of the sin bin.
Expect my apology on that one as well.
Now that the game has restarted, we're just about to approach the 10 minutes of ball in play. Now, the rule is that I cannot call him back onto the pitch until there's a stoppage in play. So for the next 40 seconds, yes, that time is elapsing the 10 minutes of ball in play, but I can't bring him on until there's a stoppage. So until this offside occurs, I cannot call him back on.
Only 14 minutes left.
You'll hear more shouts from the sideline, and quite frankly, like, I should have sent him off. Again, it's all a learning curve for me. I've tried to be lenient. I appreciate they're frustrated. But again, like, this is just so above my tolerance level. I'd almost like clocked out mentally. Then later in the game, kind of late in the second half, we get this situation where they think the ball has gone out of play. So we glance across the linesman and we don't see a flag up. Obviously the flag, everyone believes it's out there shouting. The linesman has now actually flagged, but I haven't seen it. Because they were just constantly shouting throughout the whole game, when he's now shouting, telling me the linesman put his flag up, I'm not looking because the guy's just been relentless all game. So I need to focus on the game. Anyway, the ball ends up going out exactly where it would have gone out, and now it's for them, not against them. So I'm unsure as to why he's so upset about it. But then obviously he keeps going on and on, so then we show him a yellow card. because it has now been relentless. This has just cleared the scent. So he showed me a yellow card finally, and this is way too late. I should have done it earlier. My friend was actually at the game as well. And as you can see, he starts shouting at my friend, calling me XYZ, saying I'm an XYZ. And yeah, so my friend was subject to the abuse as well.
You can see that, though. Ain't a sound on that. The sound on that is this. You're doing that. When you're going to sit up and play, good old legs, man. Can't sit up in front. Tell him so. Yeah? Yes.
It's so clear on camera, but on the pitch I can't hear it. I'm too far away. As you see, the language is just like, it's just absolutely not acceptable, you know, especially to be approaching my friend separately to the game. So then yeah, 7 minutes later you can hear him say this.
I'm sure we'll see on YouTube. I can put on YouTube.
And then after the final whistle, the civil service manager was upset, but was open to listening at least. However, again, the assistant manager was not, he had no intention of listening, just wanted to have a go. As we're coming off the pitch, he's having a go at me. You know, I'm trying to explain decisions that I've given, explain that I'm not going to get everything right, and I'm trying to explain why I've given what I've given. He doesn't want to listen, he starts, you know, saying XYZ, and then off camera, after telling me to shut up, he calls me a... To which point I then show him a red card for fan abusive language, and then he decided to square up to me. So he put his head up against mine, and yeah, started threatening me, saying that I need to watch myself and it's going to get a lot worse, XYZ. We tell him he needs to go inside. I take half step back, he eventually turns around and heads in. It's really bizarre because I didn't have any big issues with players. It simply was just this one guy on the touchline. And as I said, it's not a reflection on the club as a whole. It's not a witch hunt. Like I said, the guy's going to be blurred out. I'm not going to mention his name, but this is just, you just absolutely cannot act like this, regardless of whether officials get things right or wrong. And trust me, I don't need people to tell me that I've done a bad job. The whole point of this channel is to critique myself and learn. So when I watch the game back, I know I've made errors and I want to be better, but this sort of behaviour makes me want to not referee. Thankfully, I didn't have a game the week after, but I really comprehended just taking a couple of weeks off because that experience made me really not enjoy what I was doing. And I feel like I'm quite a resilient person. These sorts of things don't really get me down. However, I just think, gosh, if that was a 16, 17-year-old going to do their first game and they get, you know, treated like this, it's absolutely ridiculous. It just cannot happen. What would I have done differently? I would have shown him a yellow card way earlier. Like, a problem I've got is sometimes I try and overmanage the game, right? So I feel like I can talk my way out of any situation. But when someone's combative like this, you're not going to get anywhere. And unfortunately, I didn't recognise that quick enough. So I shouldn't have shown him a yellow card earlier. And I think it maybe wouldn't have got so out of hand. 2, I probably should have just gone with the club linesman to save myself the hassle. I thought I was right, but I wasn't 100% sure. And with the club assistant being so close, I probably should have just gone with them. But again, another week, and like, club assistants do just cause problems. Not because necessarily they don't do a good job, it's just because you don't work in a team of 3 and, you know, it's not 100% clear how they should act, it makes things difficult. 3, I probably shouldn't have engaged in the conversation after the game. I probably should have explained what I explained in the centre circle and then walked away from him at the end. Like I said, the behaviour is unacceptable regardless. I wasn't rude, you know, I didn't say anything rude back, and I'm glad of that because I felt like it. To be frank, I really did feel like it. But we stayed professional. We didn't let it impact our behaviour, but still loads of things to learn from the experience for sure. But yeah, if you're a referee and you've experienced something like this, like, yeah, please put it in the comments. Be great to hear. Not great to hear. It's important to hear other stories and hear how you dealt with it and how it made you feel. This is an issue across a lot of football, adult and youth football, and usually it comes from people on the sideline, not from players themselves. So let's stamp it out. Let's get rid of it. And yeah, Any tips, any advice, pop it in the comments below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video in some weird way, and yeah, we'll be back next week with some more vlogs. Bye bye.